Hello there, Vlad here. Welcome to CatPick Fridays, episode number 32. And once again, I'm joined by Mr. Richard Morgan, who definitely didn't have any technical issues before we started shooting this thing, right?
Nope, absolutely none to speak of whatsoever. We had a set time when we would meet and start recording, and it's definitely not just over 1 hour and 15 minutes later than that time. And even if it was that much later, it wouldn't have been anything to do with me. Just so that's clear. Everything happens for a reason.
Yes, something like that. I definitely didn't go into like full tech support mode where like, did you try restoring your router? Did you restart your computer? Have you made sure that your USB cable is plugged in properly?
Yeah. But after an hour and 15 minutes, it worked, and here we are.
Yes, here we are. Yeah, it's annoying, as you mentioned, like while we're trying to troubleshoot, like sometimes these things happen. Like last time you did everything, it worked, and the next time you come to your computer and start like setting up everything, it just doesn't. Even though you haven't made any changes at that.
Yeah,
like
the most annoying thing in the world.
Really frustrating. Yeah. So
that's that. Here we are.
But here we are. And thank you so much for joining us again. And I want to remind you that this show is available on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and on the Podbean app as well. And if there's a certain section you absolutely want to jump into, there's timestamp in the show description. And on YouTube, there's the clickable thingy where you can jump between different sections as well, which is really cool. And if you want to be part of the questions and comments thing, you can either leave a comment on YouTube or you can email us at podcasts@catpickstudios.com. And today we're going to talk about, first of all, my new album. Yay! By the time this episode airs, I have an album out. First solo album of wibbly wobbly guitar music. And as of shooting this video, I'm actually rendering the video as we record this show, and my computer is going crazy right now for that release. So there's that. We're going to talk about the album in a second. Then we also will need to talk about Eddie Van Halen because it's roughly a year since he passed. This show didn't exist at the time that happened. And since a lot of people and a lot of magazines and everyone has been posting about, well, Eddie's passing and the legacy he left and all of that, we thought we'd take a bit of time to discuss like our thoughts of him and his impact on the guitar and music industry in general. And then we're going to dive into the gear that's been out. I forgot to add the Universal Audio. What are they called? I'm going to cheat. They are called Volt. Universal Audio released new audio interfaces, very, very budget-friendly interfaces that, like anyone who knows Universal Audio, their stuff used to be very expensive, but not anymore. And we're going to talk about that. Then there's a Zoom B6 bass multi-effects unit. First that I remember seeing like dedicated bass guitarist multi-effects unit looked pretty cool. We're going to dive into that. Origin Effects have renamed one of their pedals, but they're saying it's definitely not because of the legal case they're going through, and the one that we had covered some months ago now, I think already. So there's that, and we have a list. The lists are back. Yes, lists are back, and we are going to dive into 11. For whatever reason, it's not 10. It's 11 best distortion pedals of 2021, according to Music Radar. But not just Music Radar, it's Music Radar, Total Guitar, and Guitarist magazine. They've combined their forces to create the ultimate distortion pedal list.
Wow.
You look so excited about it.
Well, I haven't seen the list, but if the great minds from Music Radar, Guitarist, and Total Guitar come together to create the best 11 distortion pedals of 2021, this is going to be exciting. Groundbreaking. It's
the list to rule. Yes, the list to rule all the other lists. There's that. And then there's Rich's pick for albums of our lives. I actually have no idea what we're talking about yet, but we'll find out that. And in the Weekend Watch, we'll dive into Megadeth's guitar player. I thought he was like a very recent addition to the band, but he's been there for 5 years already. Kiko has a great YouTube channel, and there's a lot of interesting vlogs and stuff he's posting about his tour with Megadeth. So we're going to dive into that as well at the end of the show. Again, if you want to check out one of these sections right away, there's timestamps. But otherwise, let's go to recent happenings. So, a very recent thing that has happened, and actually, as this show airs, it's been released today. I got an album out, and as you can tell, the album is called CatPick Jams, Volume 1, and it's basically a collection of everything I've written since starting my channel. I guess my channel officially started, and I'm putting officially in quotes, in 2017, because that's when I decided that, hey, I want to be a YouTuber, and started doing videos on a consistent basis. But the first song is actually from 2016, and I kind of did this test demo, or like this very Pete Thorne stylish demo, like just music and isolated tracks and stuff like that. I did that video and used one of my songs that I had released early in 2016 actually. And yeah, there's 31 songs, and it's a cool journey from that 2016 to pretty much very recently, so September 2021 or so. And I've gone through everything I've put out during that time, grabbed the best versions of certain songs, because I had used some of the songs several times in different videos. Just the same time, it doesn't make sense to write a song and then use it on just one video. At least I think so. So I went through different versions of those songs, and they're like, on the album, they're roughly in the chronological order, except I put the first 4 EP on this album as well. And everything has been remastered. I think it sounds like every single song sounds way better than it used to. And I'm pretty excited to put this out. Like, it's a collection of music I put out over the past 5-6 years, and it's a cool little journey. You can see like where I started, like video production and audio production wise, to where I'm now. And yeah, there will be a video out on YouTube as well, where you can see the videos, like the music videos that I also shot for those clips. And it will be available, or it is available also on all the streaming platforms for you to listen to. So go check it out. I think it's pretty fun. And you have listened to the whole thing already.
I think it will be a really interesting thing for fans to listen to, because, you know, the videos that you've done, the songs that you've written, and the productions that you've done as well, it's like a diary of where you were when you were doing those things and what level you were at. So people will see the progression from, you know, simpler songs and arrangements and good productions. They were always good right from the start, as were the songs, but kind of how that's increased in level, and how you're now at a level where the productions just sound bigger and fatter and fuller and better, you know, how you've honed your craft over the years. So I think it will be a very cool listen.
Yeah, I hope so too. And yeah, as I mentioned, it's like a diary of like what I've been doing over these years. And doing this whole project was actually pretty exciting, because the old songs weren't as bad as I remembered, but the production was as bad as I remembered. And just remastering them gave them a lot of life. There were some like basic things I didn't understand at the time, and it was fun to go back. And also, like, one of the main ideas for this was like, since the release of some of those like first videos, it's been 5 years or so. I don't expect anyone to go and like browse through every single video I've made to hear those songs, because a lot of the songs are on just one video and that's it. So if you want to see what I've been writing over the past 5 years, there it is now. And yeah, I don't think it will take me 5 more years to put out a second album. So like it inspired me to write more stuff. I feel like I want to go and write more stuff now.
That's great.
Yeah. Do you have any questions about this album? Like why, when, who?
Yeah, all of the above. No, I mean it's I feel like it's the right time for you to do that because you've got a good kind of album's worth of material to do. I guess a question from my side would be, did you have any embarrassment towards the older songs at all? Or do you look back at them and think, I wish I'd done that differently? Or is it everything you were able to save in the remastering process?
Well, not everything. There's like, for example, in the first, in some of the first songs, like, and it's something that I only realized later was that like when I was doing leads, my bends were out of tune quite a lot. Like there's a lot of overbending happening. So like bends are slightly sharp, sometimes even actually like pretty sharp. And at the time I was like, yeah, that's a good take. Let's roll with that one. So there's that. And it's something I didn't even try to fix. I think it's part of the whole thing. Since some of those videos have been out for 4 or 5 years, I'm not going to edit that. But production-wise, I did kind of salvage some of the stuff just by remastering them and like doing some like frequency cuts and boosts and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't think any of the songs are like embarrassing, but some of them are like spur of the moment. If like some of the songs are definitely written like on the spot, and then I was done, and then I just put it out without like really analyzing. Whereas now, I realize that if I write something like, if I get inspired, I try to write as many ideas down as I can. Then I come back the next day, and then I can refine them. And the process has changed in that sense quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I think you can see it in the quality of the songs as well.
Yeah, definitely. Would any of the songs, do you think, have also suited vocals? Because you have sung on the channel before. You know, you've got a decent singing voice. You can hold a note very well. Did you consider adding vocal tracks to some of them which don't have them?
The vocal thing actually came pretty late. Like, I think it's been only during this year that I started adding vocals to my tracks, I think. Yeah. Or maybe
the first one I remember was that the Isotope one.
Oh,
where
yeah,
you did like a
true.
U2-y sort of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a cover that I decided not to include on the album because I felt like it kind of fell out of place. I just wanted to have like original music there. Yeah, that's true. With that one, I'm not happy with the vocal performance, to be honest, but it was a product of its time, and I hope I've gotten better since. There are some songs that I could easily see like having vocals as well, but I think what I will be doing is writing songs that will actually like be like properly designed to have vocals. These are like, you can add vocals to them, but
yeah, I mean, I guess most of them were written with the goal in mind of promoting a certain piece of gear. So
pretty much.
If you want that piece of gear, if it's a guitar pedal or whatever, to be at the forefront, there's not much space left to have someone singing over the top. So that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of. So, yeah. Can't wait for everyone to hear this. Or actually, by the time this show airs, you can already listen to all of this. So have fun. Give it a listen and let me know what you think. Would love to hear that. And yeah, feels almost therapeutic. What's the word? Something like that to get this out.
Yeah, therapeutic, cathartic maybe.
Yes. Yeah. So really fun to get this out and on to the next project then. Actually, like So today's Friday when this airs. Tomorrow, the Church EP I've been talking about a lot also gets released. So I have a gigantic music release weekend going on. So like two of the biggest music projects of my life at the same time. So that's cool.
Strange how that happens.
Yeah.
It's like waiting for a bus in England. Nothing turns up for ages and then two show up at the same time.
Yeah, I've experienced that in Finland as well, so I know what you're talking about. It's exactly like that. Or sometimes even three. Been there. All right, so there's that. And let's jump to the next thing, which is, well, we talked about this already briefly. Eddie Van Halen. I checked out the guitarworld.com article that you can find in the show notes as well. And I like what they did here. Like, I know this is from February 2021, but like this collection of like short quotes from the different articles over time. Like Eddie gave a bunch of interviews, and there's like article from 81, 82, 84, and so on. These are fun quotes, and actually all of this kind of ties in together with David Lee Roth announcing that he's retiring, which I'm not 100% sure what it means, to be honest, but yeah. He also announced that he's retiring, and I think we've talked about Eddie's son a bit here, Wolfgang Van Halen. He's been touring with Guns N' Roses lately, which is pretty awesome with his solo project. And yeah, I gotta say, Eddie is like one of the very few guitar players where like the ones that I'm gonna say like the only one I remember hearing who gets really close to his sound like that, playing like the energy in his guitar playing and everything, is Phil X, and it feels to me like Phil has dedicated half of his life to kind of have the same like vibes in his playing as Eddie had.
Yeah,
but otherwise, like there isn't anyone who's like even close. I want to say he was very, very unique.
Yeah, when he came out, he was revolutionary. He wasn't the first guy to do two-handed tapping, but he was the guy who popularized it for a generation of rock guitarists. And this is way before our time. You know, neither of us were born when he first appeared and started doing his thing. But I've heard from people who were there who were, you know, it was one of those moments where your jaw hits the floor and you're like, what on earth is that guy actually doing? How is he making those sounds? It's a kind of mysterious thing that it can't really happen today. You know, we have amazing guitar players today, probably guitar players who are much more technically perfect than Eddie Van Halen was. And yet we know exactly what they're doing, so we can see it in 4K on YouTube, you know, the day it comes out. And there's 10 different people who have got perfect videos telling you exactly how to play it. Not that you'd ever be able to do it, but it's a different thing now. And so, yeah, Eddie Van Halen, he left a massive mark on, well, 2 or 3 generations of guitar players now, because you're a big fan, I think. Personally, it's just a kind of music I was never really into, but even I feel the influence of a player like that in my playing, because I've been around so many players and I'm influenced by so many players who were in turn influenced by him. You know, he's just absolutely up there as one of the top 10, top 5 most influential rock guitar players in history, I would say. And it doesn't feel like a year ago that he died, because it happened during this COVID time. I mean, he didn't die from COVID, but it's just the world is frozen right now. And recently I was at 42 Gear Street, and there were a number of people there who were also greatly influenced by him. Most particularly, probably most significantly, would be Jamie Humphries, who is an incredible player and has also spent years and years kind of honing his craft to become a player in Eddie's kind of caliber. And he's an absolutely wonderful player, Jamie, a great person, and he's done some very heartfelt videos about the subject, so I'd recommend anyone who wants to go and check those out to go and check those out as well. But you can see that the general outpouring of grief again a year on means that this is still fresh in so many people's minds, and it shows how important Eddie was to so many people. Even though he hadn't been making that much music in recent years, as far as I know.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I know he also made like some breakthroughs, like recording guitar and stuff like that, but just, I don't know, just the general attitude. And he's one of those guitar players who's like instantly recognizable. It's such a unique sound combined with the kind of aggression and energy that I don't feel qualified to analyze where all of that kind of comes from, like what makes him so unique. But yeah, it's really cool. Plus the fact that they wrote songs that people really liked. Like that combined with being such a unique, band and then such a unique guitar player.
Yeah, it was a band with so many top quality musicians and songwriters. And yeah, Van Halen broke through. They conquered the mainstream. They topped the Billboard charts. They sold millions of records. They did amazingly well. And yeah, I guess another thing is that despite him playing the kind of stuff that he did, he seems to have influenced so many players from so many different genres as well. It crossed over into pretty much every kind of music. So he was a fantastic player.
Yep.
And it's great that the music lives on.
Yeah, that's
and maybe
awesome.
David Lee Roth has decided now that it's time for him to stop making music and retire from show business or whatever, because he wants now to enjoy his later years. I don't know how old he is. He must be 60s. I don't know, 70. 60s? I'm not sure.
I think 60s. I want to say not 70s yet, because I think Eddie was 63 or something when he passed.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure on this, but yeah. Also, like fun fact, like I've mentioned before about like Eddie's son. I follow him on Twitter. He's an interesting follow there, and I forgot that when Van Halen had the whole comeback thing, Wolf was also part of the band. He was the bass player of the band. He was 16 at the time. And imagine being 16, being thrown into Van Halen to tour the world. That's...
Yeah, I mean, that would be a very bizarre situation, but I suppose with him, it's tempered by the fact that he was Eddie's son and he was raised in the whole world of that. So it was a natural step for him. He wouldn't have stepped on stage with the guys and had this kind of awe-inducing moment. He wouldn't have been starstruck at all, because presumably he hung out with them ever since he was a baby. So it was just hanging out with friends. I remember at the time when that happened, how controversial it was that Eddie's son was allowed to play bass with them. But I think he's gone on to prove that he's, in his own right, a very, very good musician. And
he's a great musician. Like,
he justified his place in the band, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like his debut album is pretty good. There's a lot of good songs, and he's a multi-instrumentalist. He played all the instruments on the album as well, and I'm actually really interested to see what happens with the next album, because it feels like as an artist he's still a bit raw. Yet his songs are already pretty good. That like radio stations and such are playing those songs already. But like, can't wait to see where it goes from there. And he seems to also be able to handle the whole Twitter and social media thing, where people like constantly tell him that like either he's not like upholding his father's legacy by not playing Van Halen songs on his tour, or like if he would ever even consider doing that, like some people would hate him for that as well. So like there's nothing he can do where people wouldn't say stupid stuff to him about what he should or shouldn't do. And he seems to be handling that really well, which is really impressive.
Yeah, it's a catch-22 for him, because he really can't win, no matter what he does. But he seems to be doing it quite well so far. And I hope he can continue to do so.
Yeah, me too. The fact that he's touring with, or like was touring or is touring. I'm not sure if the tour is over yet, but the fact that he's touring with Guns N' Roses and he's been on like Jimmy Kimmel Live and stuff like that bodes well for his future career. So well done. Interested to hear what he's going to do next. And yeah, let's jump to Universal Audio Interfaces Volt, which reminds a food delivery company here in Finland at least. We have Volt that delivers food the same way like a lot of other companies do, DoorDash and such. Anyway, they put out a budget-friendly audio interface range. We're checking out the Premier Guitar article, and then also there's a bunch of... Oh, no audio, thank you, on this video. Yeah, very, very budget-friendly audio interfaces, and I'm not sure what to say. They're fairly basic. There's like a vintage button on there. Basically, like the smallest model is just one input, the instrument or microphone input, and they are very kind of vintage inspired and looking, and very budget friendly as well. And I guess they say it's premium quality converters in here as well. For the price they're asking, I'm gonna question that a little bit, but it's just me. Comes with a bunch of Universal Audio, and like just they have collaborated with a bunch of companies to bundle you with all kinds of plugins and software and stuff like that, which is also what happened with the more expensive ones, the expensive audio interfaces. And yeah, some of the interesting and eyebrow-raising features are, for example, that it's USB 2 audio, which feels a bit weird. So it is cool that it works with iPads and iPhones as well, besides the regular Mac and PC. So there's that, but it comes with a USB-C to USB-A cable. So good luck plugging that into your iPhone. You need an adapter that's probably like $40 to $80 or so. So enjoy. I found that
why
really
do you
weird.
think they went with USB 2?
Cheaper? That's the only thing I can think of.
I wonder if this was a product that was developed before USB 3 was a thing. No, surely not. I don't know.
No, it's been around for several years now.
That is an interesting decision, isn't it? Because they would have had to make a conscious choice to go for USB 2, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So they must see some advantage from doing that.
Yeah,
and it could just be down to cost.
Yeah, the smallest unit is $139. We're checking out the Sweetwater site. And if I compare that to the Focusrite Scarlett I have over here, for example, 2i2, which has double the inputs and is also USB-C powered, so you don't need an external supply. I don't know, this feels weird. Because these also need an external power supply. And I'm a little bit confused. I'm going to check how much the Scarlett 2i2 is at
for me, one of there's two key selling points for these new Volt interfaces. The first is, I would say, the aesthetics. They look pretty cool. They've tried to model them on older bits of studio gear, and they just... they're sort of gas-inducing. I saw them and I thought, I've never seen an audio interface before and thought, oh, that looks cool. But I saw this and I thought, that would look nice sat on my desk. So that's a cool thing. I mean, you have the Universal Audio branding as well. That's a second thing. But the third thing is that on some of the new models, there's 5 in total, you have a couple of different options to move away from squeaky clean audio and to go to kind of saturated old tube emulated sounds. So a couple of them have their built-in 76 compressor sort of a sound that you can go to. And I think there's another option or two if we scan down the article. There's a bit more information.
Yeah, and for YouTube viewers, you can literally see there's a vintage button on each of the channels.
Yeah, so if you don't want to have
vintage.
just pristine clean, click the vintage button and you get, according to Universal Audio, this vintage classic sound that so many amazing artists have used over the decades. Obviously, it's not going to be a true replication of that, but it's a cool feature to have, and I think it will sell it to a lot of people. The one downside of that is if you choose to record with that, it's on your track, isn't it? So it's like you can't take it off again. Whereas if you just record your pristine, clean audio, you can then use plugins to get that effect afterwards and then remove it if you don't like it or if you're going for something different. With this, you wouldn't have that option.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, the one that has the built-in compressor as well, so this is the 176 interface. It's like, you get the 76 compressor separately, so there's the compressor and then there's the vintage button as well on that one.
Yeah.
But then it's just one channel, I think. Or is there one on the front and one on the back?
And there's the 176 and there's also a 276, which has 2 channels.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. So you have a few different options. I think the key thing is going to be once people get these out in the real world and see how they sound.
Yeah.
That will be the make or break because, as you say, Focusrite with the Scarlett has pretty much conquered this budget market for making great products at a great price that just work and just do the job. You know, I've used a Scarlett 2i4 for a few years now. Every single video I've ever done, every time we record, blah, 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 it just sits there and does the job. It's never broken on me yet, touch wood. It wasn't one of the things that caused us to be over an hour late today with our recording slot.
No, it wasn't.
It works for me every time. It's simple and easy, and I wouldn't even say that I love using it. It's just a tool that I've been able to rely on 100% of the time when I've needed it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a very smart move for them to move into budget-friendly range of audio interfaces as well, because the cheapest one so far has been the
Apollo, is it?
Apollo Solo, I think.
Yeah.
It's like a one-channel thing. One of those, it's still like, I think 600-ish euros or something like that. So this is way, way cheaper. And I mean, a lot of people might be very interested in these. But again, it really depends on what you need, but there's also the Focusrite Solo as well with one channel, and there's a bunch of nice features as well. But if these sound good, why not? I need more than 1 or 2 inputs, but most people are fine with 2, maybe even 1. So interesting release, kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of this one. I just saw it randomly yesterday on the internet, and it does look cool. Yeah, just looking at those pictures that you're flashing up, they look like cool things to have. But it's for me personally, it's going to be very difficult for me to justify swapping out what I have in terms of my Focusrite Scarlett for one of these. They're really going to have to convince me that there's a reason to do that.
Yeah, they're definitely not like making me want to switch, but especially because I have the Apollo Twin. But they look interesting. What's different about these and the Focusrite, for example, this has MIDI in and MIDI out. So for studio stuff, or maybe even like using one of these interfaces for like live stuff paired with like a keyboard, for example, this is more like, this allows you to do things that you cannot do with the Scarlett.
Oh, but some of the Scarletts have MIDI in and out, so that's also no problem. I mean, I think the smallest one don't, but... Yeah,
might be.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know, because do we think that these Universal Audio Vaults, are they mostly aimed at guitar players and singer-songwriters? Do you think they're going to be aimed at people who are going to be making use of those MIDI arrangements?
To me, these seem like entry-level interfaces.
Yeah, I
Cool
don't see...
entry-level interfaces.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see the MIDI as being a key selling point there. I just think it's there.
And I mean, it's a nice addition, I guess. Allows you to
if
create
you can have it, why not?
Yeah, that's the thing. So, yeah. Interested to hear these in the real world situation, I guess, and people's reviews and comments on these. So, need to keep an eye out on those. Moving to something that I kind of was excited about, actually, because Zoom put out a B6 unit. Look at that. Boom. That's... How would you describe that design? It's spaceship.
I was going to say, it looks like something that the Apollo moon landing astronauts would have used.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, perhaps Poo Ninja can tell us exactly which part of the landing module this came out of if he watches this episode. But yeah, it's certainly not. It's certainly not a modern-looking design. I mean, we just saw with the Volt audio interfaces a very cool old-school-looking studio aesthetic, whereas this B6 just looks kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say dated. It has kind of an old-school charm to it, but it looks like it's from the 90s.
Yeah, that's definitely, I don't know, it looks very Zoom to me. Like if I grab my Zoom 505, yeah, if I grab my Zoom 505 over there, like there's very definitely similar vibe. Should I do it actually for YouTube viewers? Yeah. So we can compare. Just a second.
They all want to see that. And I'm actually not familiar with whether there is a guitar version of this B6, by the way, Vlad, or is this just a special for all the bass players out there?
I gotta say, I'm not sure. I don't remember seeing there's definitely some similarities aesthetic-wise. Like if we compare it to this, like it's from the same product family, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. You can see that it's from the same lineage.
Yes. But I mean, the unit itself looks cool. There's a bunch of switches, like very well laid out switches. There's a touch screen, which I love this development in like multi-effects units, because my biggest gripe with most of them has been the user interface. And when you can use the touch screen, it's such a huge improvement and makes your life easier. You can chain up to 6 effects plus an amplifier emulation. There's 12 different classic bass speakers included. There's a bunch of different DI inputs and output options. A few different preamp emulations as well. The I/O looks pretty comprehensive here. There's balanced out, amplifier out, couple different. Oh yeah, the cool thing is like there's also 2 different inputs. So if you are swapping between the basses to the set, you can tweak like both of the inputs according to your bass, and then just swap them on the fly, which is really cool and unique. I don't remember seeing anything like this from other companies. And USB out, you can use this as an audio. Sorry?
There's a Gent preamp. Have you seen that?
Finally, there's a Gent preamp. The one we've all been
preamp emulation we've all been waiting for.
I know.
Which combines an undistorted low end with a strongly distorted high end. Blah.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of cool because like that's something when I ask my friend to record some tracks, that's what he does. He sends me like a heavily distorted track and then there's a clean track and then I blend them in. But you can do that with the preamp right away from there. So that's cool. And yeah, there's a USB out as well, and you can use this as an audio interface. So that's also something that's been happening with a lot of these units. You can use them as an audio interface now. So it's all about recording. I mean, this kind of looks cool. It has everything I would need. There's even like an SD card slot for there's an SD card slot, and you can use that SD card to record what you're playing. I've never seen this on any of these units before. That's kind of cool. Like it could be super useful for some people.
Didn't one of the Newx looper pedals have that? Where you could just record stuff and then use an SD card to transfer it?
Could be.
I don't know.
I'm forgetting.
I've had one of their loopers. It's definitely not a common thing, but that's a very cool idea.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and there's also a Bluetooth expansion port for wireless control of the B6 unit via dedicated Guitar Lab app as well. And price is roughly 500. The recommended retail price is 534 euros. And the article that says, so hopefully the street price will be under 500 euros. Yeah, let's hope. I mean, if I was a gigging bass player, I'd seriously consider this. It looks great. I bet it sounds good as well. Oh, like the few demo videos I've watched. Sounds good.
Yeah, I haven't seen or heard anything from it in video form, but it looks like it includes absolutely everything. So if you're a bass player and you have a bass and you buy this, you can record, you can rehearse, you can gig, and you can make the most of that Gent preamp. You've basically got everything you could ever need as a bass player.
Yeah, exactly. I also enjoyed this layout of all the switches because, first of all, it's probably the cleanest layout of any units I've seen. Plus, they also, like, on the right side, there's 3 buttons so that allow you to select between inputs and stuff. Like, they're lower on the pedal board, like physically lower as well. Like, feels like they put a lot of emphasis on, like, just, like, product design in the sense like what it's like to use in a live situation or playing with a band.
It feels to me like that part on the right where you have those 3 buttons, they had originally designed this to have an expression pedal. You can kind of see how it's sort of on a different physical level. It's either higher or lower than the rest of it. You can tell, or at least I feel like I can tell there would have been something for a foot treadle there, and it's just no longer there. Let's put it that way. Or maybe there is a guitar version of this and it has a wire expression pedal thing on that side, and they just don't have it for the bass. But what they've done is use that space and put some extra options in there. It's cool.
Yeah. And especially because you have the 2 options, like the option to switch between 2 inputs, I think it makes sense to have it like physically lower the input switch, that is, so you don't accidentally hit it while you're playing and muting your signal. So
yeah, that is pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I have nostalgic feelings towards Zoom because back when I was first starting, I also had one of their cheap multi-effects pedals that were so over the top in terms of presets that you laughed when you switched between them because some of them were so crazy sounding. But you can dial them back, make the stuff much more moderate and get really good sounds out of them still. And so I'm assuming that their newest models are actually really good sounding. Yeah.
I think I need to close my window. There's like a loud leaf blower going on all of the sudden. Just a second. There you go. Much better. I can hear something now. Let's jump to the next thing. And which is which is the conclusion of this article already. But Origin Effects has renamed its Revival Trem pedal to Deluxe 61. And as some of the listeners might remember, there was a controversy between Origin Effects with their Revival Drive and Revival Electric, which is a company based in US, I think. And there was like a dispute between the companies because, Revival Drive, Revival Electric. Well, now the Revival Trem has been renamed to Deluxe 61 Amp, Tremolo, and Drive. And Origin Effects says it's not because of the trademark dispute with Revival Electric. But do you think it's because of the trademark dispute?
Well, reading between the lines, it might indeed have something to do with that. It's all about whether you believe the company, isn't it? In the article, it's written twice, but it's not because of the UK company's trademark dispute. Yeah, maybe that's true. I don't know. It seems like a big coincidence for it to happen now.
Yeah.
But as they say at the bottom, the Revival Drive pedal will continue to have its name, so maybe it's not.
Yeah, I kind of feel like them saying like, yeah, we're doing this because of the trademark case would undermine their case quite a bit. So they kind of have to say this. I mean, Deluxe 61 is a nice name as well. Why not?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I don't feel that a name change would have been necessary. So maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Who knows? I think the article is funny, and I feel like Music Radar is poking fun a little bit.
A little bit, definitely. Yeah, because like twice, as you mentioned, twice, and it's not. Oh yeah, that's Taylor. In the article, I'm quoting. Instead, the company says the decision reflects the features of the pedal. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the features of the pedal were still there when they had it as a new pedal. So why didn't they call it that then?
Yeah, that
would be a question I would raise.
Yeah, again, we need to do a legal episode one of these days. Yeah, so
yeah, we do
that. That's all we're going to say now, and we are going to dive into one of our favorite things online: lists of best pieces of guitar gear. And Music Radar always provides, like weekly almost, it feels. Today we talk about the 11 best distortion pedals of 2021, our pick of the top gain stages for guitar. And again, there's absolutely no criteria here how these were picked, I think. It's just a list of pedals. And as we've reminded you before, these links or like links next to every product seems to be affiliate links. So I don't think this is like scientifically proven that these are the 11 best distortion pedals.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're just the favorite pedals of the guys who write for those magazines. Let's call it that.
They could name it that, and I would still check the list. I don't know what. Yeah, let's not dive into that. Let's dive into the list itself because it's always fun. And number one is the MXR M75 Super Badass Distortion, a pedal that I don't remember trying. And
I've played it. It's a good pedal.
Stars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and I guess the cool thing about that is that it has a 3-band EQ, so it's very tweakable.
It's true. I love they have this reasons to buy and reasons to avoid section. Reasons to buy 3-band EQ, as you just mentioned, wide gain range, low noise. Reasons to avoid not the greatest low gain sounds and no fat switch. Yet it's number one.
I feel like that means that every other pedal on the list is going to have a fat switch. Because if they don't, that's going to be a negative point for all of them.
Interesting.
Although I think
have
this is
personal experience with this one.
Yeah, this must be like a newer version because I remember previous MXR badass distortion pedals that do have. They were red before, not silver, like what we're seeing here. And there was a fat switch, I believe.
Interesting.
Yep. So maybe this is a new, more affordable version. And they're made in America, aren't they? MXR pedals.
Euro.
So
sorry,
they're made in America, aren't they? MXR pedals officially. So
I think so.
Decent price. Yeah. Very versatile drive.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, if you need a fat switch on your pedals, then don't get this one.
Yeah, this is not the pedal
I do wonder if it's
for.
Number one is number one, the best, or if it's just a list of 11.
Hard to tell. They never.
Well, let's go down and see.
Address that. Yes, let's move on and see what happens. Because number two is the Boss JB Angry Driver. It's a good pedal. It's definitely a good pedal. So it's Angry Driver, unless I'm forgetting, it's, let me check. It should be it's the Blues Driver from Boss combined with JHS Angry Charlie. And I have demoed this pedal back in the day. It's really good. It's really versatile. And is it the top 11 pedal, like drive pedal in the world? Maybe. If you're going for these sounds, I liked it. That's all
I've never
know.
actually played one, but it's actually a pedal I would really like to try. Is it true bypass, by the way? Because they say it here on the list, but every other Boss pedal that I know is not true bypass. I think every JHS pedal is as standard.
I don't remember.
That just
anymore.
interests me because, obviously all Boss pedals are buffered and some people like it, some people don't.
Yeah, somehow I remember that there might be like a switch inside where you can decide whether it's true bypass, but I could be wrong.
That would make a bit of sense. Is there another switch inside called the fat switch? Because I don't see one, and yet I don't see that in the reasons not to buy section.
That's true. But I mean, it has so many different options because you can go with the Boss sound, then you can go for the JHS pedal, then you can like have them in, or like either the JHS in front and Bruce Drive after that, or the other way around, or there's a parallel mode as well. And it's a very versatile pedal.
That's what I would imagine. And you have the extra input for a remote, which presumably gives you extra switching options. So you can activate both of them independently, maybe, I guess.
Yeah, I think something.
And that's a really cool thing. The Angry Charlie is like it's a Marshall bit high distortion Marshall sort of a pedal. The Blues Driver is that Boss, pushed tube amp sort of a tone. That could cover a lot of bases, from push cleans all the way through to full on metal sounds. You could do it with that pedal. I really need to try that pedal.
Yeah, I'm okay with this pedal being on the list. It's good. Combines two great pedals.
So far.
Number 3 is Mesa Boogie Throttle Box EQ. What?
Okay.
Plus points. Huge Mesa Boogie distortion. Flexible tones thanks to the 5-band EQ. Pro quality build and operation. Reasons to avoid. Can take a little time to find the right tone. And expensive. This is 200 euros or $299. I mean, with a 5-band EQ, I can see why this is on the list, but also, really? That's my initial thoughts.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I mean, you can probably make it sound amazing, but if we're talking about the world's best 11 distortion pedals, I don't think anyone is going to be naming that, are they? Yeah,
especially like if the reasons to avoid are that it can take time to get the right tone out of this, and it's expensive. Those are pretty big two like no-nos to put it on the list at least.
Is it kind of a distortion pedal that will turn any clean amp into a Mesa Boogie distortion, effectively?
I think so.
Okay.
It looks like that. There's even like a mid-cut knob and a boost knob.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anyone ever doing videos on this or anything. I've never heard one. I've never seen one in person.
Because Mesa doesn't want to do YouTube.
They don't work
with YouTube, as Glenn would attest. So there's that.
Interesting.
Yeah, let's move on to the next one. I really don't know what to say about this. Okay. Immediately, I can agree with this one. Proco Rat 2.
Yes.
You are familiar with this pedal. Do you have the number 2 version or the first one?
I have the Proco Rat 2, and I have a few different pedals now, which are based on the Rat circuit. And I've played old Rats as well now. My friend and current boss, Thomas Blug, has old Rat pedals, and the Rat is just awesome. I love it. This would probably, without having seen the rest of the list, this should be up there if we're doing it by number at 1, 2, or 3, for sure. It's such a great sounding pedal. It's way more versatile than they give it credit for by saying scuzzy fuzz distortion. Because, I mean, it can do scuzzy fuzz distortion, And although it doesn't have a fat switch, it can do anything from fattening up a clean to giving you brutal, not tight modern metal sounds, but brutal metal sounds.
Yeah.
It does punk. You could even do jazzy stuff with it. It's great for indie. It's great for noise rock. It's great for grunge. It's good for hard rock and classic rock as well. It's good for so much. And it's super cheap. You know, you'll get one over here in Europe for under €100. They say $150 as the American price, but I bet you can get a Rat for about $80 new in America.
Yeah, I would assume
Great pedals. I love the Rat. I only discovered it fairly recently, like a year or two ago, but it's an amazing pedal. I love it.
Yeah, it's something that I need to add on my board. I've had few like DIY Rat copies on my board back in the day, and I love them. I think as soon as I found out that the second album of Foo Fighters was like recorded with pretty much like a Rat and a Vox AC30 or something like that, or at least like it's one of the pedals they've used a lot. I was like, I need to get that sound, and it definitely gets you that sound. Yeah, I agree with this thing. Number 5 is KHDK Dark Blood, a pedal that I don't really know, to be honest. And looks fairly modern. And they say that it's one of the best distortion pedals with a built-in noise gate for metal. It certainly looks very metal. Reasons to buy: defined, tight, high-gain sounds, built-in noise suppression works well, and useful EQ controls. Reasons to avoid: low-gain sounds are nothing to write home about. And extra features would be nice considering the price. What are the extra features, though? You can't say it needs extra features without listing the extra features.
Yeah, what would you want? I mean, it has quite a few for a regular size pedal. It has gain, volume, a doom control, a gate, and a high-low switch. I mean, I'm not sure what more you could ask for in that size enclosure. What would you do? Maybe you could try and get like a low gain mode on it or something. I don't know. It would be really interesting to know what features they would like to see added into it. But yeah, this is a brand, KHDK, which I'm also not really familiar with as a player. I know about them. They make pretty high-end pedals. The brand is a collaboration between Kirk Hammett and David, what's his name? Is it Kamer or Keimer, maybe? Anyway, whatever. A collaboration between those two guys originally. And they make very good stuff at a very boutique-y sort of a price point, you know? For the kinds of people who want those tones, it's probably absolutely perfect. Yeah,
they say here in the article that it's definitely the best distortion pedal for Metallica fans. Sounds like it. Yeah, sure, why not? Let's jump to number 6 right away, because another high gain pedal, I think. Wampler Sovereign, how do you pronounce it? Distortion
Sovereign.
And Sovereign, strong build, lots of tonal options, rich harmonics. And those were the reasons to buy, and reasons to avoid. Takes a bit of tweaking.
Well, I can imagine, because it has those extra features, which the KHDK didn't have. I've never played the Sovereign. Me neither. I don't have any experience with the high gain Wampler stuff. They also have one called the Dracaris, which I've not tried. Yeah. But I'm a big fan of their lower gain overdrives and a lot of the other pedals that they do, and this probably sounds great. It probably has that modern sort of a slightly hi-fi sheen to it that a lot of Wampler pedals seem to have. Some people like that, some people don't. I think it's cool. I would be up for trying one out.
Yeah, this has modern and vintage switch as well, and then there's a gain and boost switch, which is interesting.
And I like how it has a tone knob and a mid contour. Yeah, that's interesting. So presumably you can just scoop the mids out if that's what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds like you can get quite a array of different tones out of this one.
Cool looking pedal, but again, if you were thinking of, your 10 top distortion pedals, would you think of the Wampler Sovereign?
No.
No, I wouldn't either. I mean, obviously neither of us own one, but I don't know anybody else who does. And that's always a sign for me where I'm like, we guitarists, we're all in the same boat. We all follow the same things. We read the same mags and websites. So if there was a reason for us to try something out, some of us would have or own this pedal,
Yeah. And I mean, it's like, it seems like a very specific type of sound for people. Like, it's not even the most famous drive, or maybe even like top 3 famous drive from Womple. Yet, like, even being like a top 10 or top 11 pedal in the world right now. So,
yeah. I guess what I'm realizing about this list is that they're kind of keeping it to pretty high gain distortion pedals. Womple does a bunch of amazing overdrives like the Pantheon, which I own and love. But I guess that would not apply to this list because it's an overdrive, it's lower gain, it's transparent. And that's how they've done this list.
Yeah, so it seems. And yeah, moving on to number 7. Friedman BE-OD distortion pedal. Okay, I can agree with this one, I'd say.
Yeah. This is definitely one I would expect to see on the list. Let's put it that way.
Reasons to buy huge British distortion sounds, near unlimited gain. Is that a plus or down, like a minus point? Not sure. Great value given to the tones on offer. Yeah.
For some people, near unlimited gain, that is a plus point for sure. For me, this pedal was too much. I also tried, and I own the Dirty Shirley pedal, and that's their low gain overdrive pedal, which also gives you huge British overdrive sounds. But that has an internal gain trim pot, as does the BE-OD. Actually, they both have little pots inside that you can twist to give you more or less distortion. And I run the Dirty Shirley's internal gain trim pot at its lowest possible setting, and it's still sometimes too much for me. So, the BE overdrive with everything at 12 o'clock, like in that image, would just destroy me, which some people would see as a reason to buy. So there you go. Yeah.
The funny thing is, like in the article, they said that reasons to buy is a near unlimited gain. Reasons to avoid could be overgained for some.
Good point.
Sure. But yeah, I can see what, like, this is the first one where like I go like, yeah, this is something I would have thought of for this list. I'm gonna say.
Yes.
Number 8, Fender Pugilist distortion. Yeah, there's definitely a high gain bias. I have no like impression of what this sounds like. I know this pedal exists, but I also forgot that this pedal exists.
Same for me. It's a shame that line of Fender pedals, I don't know, it passed us by in a way. I'm sure all the effects are great. I actually got the Treverb, the tremolo reverb one, and it's all right. I don't like it that much. I'm probably going to get rid of it at some point, but I think they were going for an affordable range of pedals that just, is solid, looks simple, and gets the job done. And I'm sure the Pugilist does that, but I tried it at a show once. It was fine. Not really my thing. It's just kind of boring, isn't it? It's very affordable.
Kind of. Yeah. I have no impression of what it sounds like. Looks-wise, not my thing at least. Yeah, I mean, could be great. But
one thing I really like about the looks is the fact that there's a switch. You can just see it on the top right corner there. And you can switch on if the knobs light up. So this pedal looks kind of boring, but you can have those knobs lit so you can even see where you are on the darkest of stages. So that's cool.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah,
that's
otherwise,
a cool feature.
Yeah, this is a very vanilla pedal for me.
Yeah, it does have a bass boost switch though.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think they were thinking of making kind of utilitarian pedals that are simple in looks and just deliver in terms of tones, but were not something to get super excited about. Kind of the opposite of the modern day boutique pedals that cost more than twice as much have a cool design.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Probably sound the same.
Yep. Number 9 is, Walrus Audio Iron Horse version 2. I gotta say, I'm a bit lost in the... Is the red tone? Old school drive tones.
I got to Google that, but I thought
this?
that was a Rat clone.
Yeah,
and if so, it's fine being on the list.
Yes. Says a 70s style distortion tones, uses classic LM308 chip. A bit fuzzy for tighter distortion sounds, that was reasons to avoid. Not that affordable, 188 euros, $199. So, yeah, not the cheapest pedal out there. Fairly simple pedal. Simple looking. There's a LED and there's a switch that does something. I don't see a label on the switch though, so I'm not sure what the switch actually does.
My guess would be
three-way
it's a
clipping
fat switch. Ah.
It is. Okay, no, it wasn't a fat switch.
Shame. But yeah, just a very quick Google search there. Oh yeah, you can see in the reasons to buy, uses the classic LM308 chip, so it's a Rat clone effectively.
There
which means I need to try it, because it hasn't been on my radar really.
Yeah, it's triple the price of the Rat though, so almost triple the price.
Yeah, maybe it is interesting.
The rice is good.
Yeah, I mean, you have that 3-way clipping switch. Maybe it's 3 different Rat circuits. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, there are so many Rat sort of, let's not say clones, but kind of homages to the Rat made by modern boutique companies that cost, 3 times as much as an original Rat. And it's, sometimes you think, is it worth it? And in some ways, maybe it is, and in some ways, maybe it's not. I mean, I love my Rat pedal, and I love the cheap clone that I have, and I love the more expensive clone that I have as well.
Yeah. What? Number 10 is Amp Tweaker Tight Metal Junior. One of the best metal distortion pedals from the designer of the 5150. Oh, really? Okay, you got me interested a little bit. It has a fat, normal, and tight switch. So this is a winner already.
Mm-hmm.
Among the best high-gain sounds you'll get from a pedal, built-in noise gate, flexible EQ, reasons to avoid, not cheap, and too much gain for some. So there you go.
Well, from the designer of the 5150, that's probably going to be a really good pedal. It has a very left field sort of design. I don't know if I like the design on first look, but it looks metal.
It's pretty unique.
It's another one that I've never ever seen anywhere in a store, or I've never heard anyone else play it or use it, but would be interested to check it out.
True. And number 11 is the Bogner Ecstasy Red. Yeah, I guess so. Like, I've had what's the gold Bogner pedal?
The
Not
Lagrange.
The Ecstasy, but Lagrange. Indeed, I've had that one. It was a great pedal.
Yeah, I have that. I enjoy that a lot. But yeah, again, I guess that's an overdrive pedal, right? That's a plexi pedal with a boost.
Yeah. This is distortion. It's different. I guess this could be on the list. I'm fine with this being on the list. Few are some weird picks. This, why not?
Yeah, it's a strange list again, but it was fun to go through. I mean, let's imagine that they were limiting themselves to kind of medium to high gain distortions, and they probably did okay, didn't they?
Yeah,
I'm struggling to think of other distortion pedals in that kind of genre that would go on there. But I mean,
Rev G3 a distortion pedal? It's a It's not an overdrive. I think it's the distortion.
Yeah, I would definitely have the Rev G3 in there. No question.
Yeah.
What about something like the Boss DS1? If we're talking about the best distortion pedal, why not have the ultimate classic in there?
Yeah, my only guess is that it's too boring to have on the list. It's a 40-year-old classic.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's still amazing. I have one, and I'm not getting rid of mine anytime soon. So, yeah, I'm gonna say it would be boring to have that one on the list.
Okay, what about the Boss HM2?
You might be right. HM2, a bit too controversial, like too niche.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with names that we could otherwise put on the list. Well, maybe they got the best 11.
Maybe they got the best 11 already. So, yeah. I think we might want to jump to the album thing next, because I'm really curious to hear what's your pick. And maybe I'll again find something to listen to, as happened the last time Rich was picking an album that I actually really enjoyed. Yeah, let's jump to albums of our lives. Like plastic on a CD shelf, these are the albums of our lives. So, Rich, what do you have for us today?
Well, I'm lucky that I have this record to talk about today, because this past week I've been so incredibly busy that I kind of forgot that I was going to have to talk about a record that I like. And I came across the idea last night. And last night I was doing the Blue Guitar live stream, so I was on that till 10:30. Got home really late, went to bed, got up and listened to this record while I was getting ready to do the show, actually. And it's possibly one of my favorite records of all time. Possibly my favorite. I don't know. It's impossible to say what my favorite record ever is, but this is definitely up there. It's in my top 3. It's probably one of the albums I've listened to the most in my life, even though it was only released in 2008. And it's from one of my, I guess, idols as a musician, as a singer, as a songwriter, as a guitar player, and as a gear nerd as well, because he's a gear nerd too. And the album is, here it comes, on unopened vinyl, because I have a copy on vinyl that I've never used so far. It is the 59 Sound by the Gaslight Anthem. I mean, you must be familiar with the Gaslight Anthem, Vlad.
Yes. And I'm familiar with the album as well.
So there you go. I'm sorry, you don't find anything new this week. Yeah. But this record is another one that was I should have taken that cellophane off, but I don't want to, because it's worth more money, because it's quite rare.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. Keep it that way.
Yeah, the Gaslight Anthem, for those of you who don't know them, are, or were, because they're gone now, they're split. They were and are a folk, punk, generic rock band. They started off in the mid-2000s doing punky stuff. Then they switched up and did a bit more sort of folk punky, Bruce Springsteen influenced stuff, and they ended up doing more generic hard rock, Billboard rock chart light sort of stuff. And then they moved a bit more folky, and Brian Fallon went off and did his own solo stuff with the Horrible Crows, who have an amazing record, which I might talk about in future. And he does his own Brian Fallon records, which are great, but much more folky. And so the Gaslight Anthem first came to my attention in the summer of 2008. And that was the year that the 59 Sound came out. And I was still reading regularly a magazine called Kerrang, which is a UK, or it was a UK weekly, anything from rock to metal magazine. So music with angry, distorted guitars. And the Gaslight Anthem, out of nowhere, suddenly appeared on the cover of that magazine. And I think, if I remember rightly, they were the first band who had never been featured in the magazine and then went straight to the cover. And I thought, this is going to be big. It's going to be exciting. And they were talking about this amazing folk punk record. And so I ended up checking out the 59 Sound, and I loved it straight away. And it's something that I didn't know was out there. It's punky, but it has folk aspects to it. There's a big Bruce Springsteen influence to it in the vocals and the lyrics, and also in the production techniques as well. And what it doesn't have, which everything else in Kerrang had, and what a lot of other punk rock has, is highly distorted guitars. A lot of the songs are played on just barely breaking up instruments. And that was something that I just really, really loved. And the album itself is named after a 59 Fender Bassman that Brian Fallon, the singer and main songwriter, was repairing, I think, at some point, and fell in love with the tone because he's an amp tinkerer. He loves his gear. He has a great Instagram channel. He's a very funny guy. He does lots of live music there, so check him out on there if you're interested. But this record, as I said, it changed how I thought about punk music, and I realized that you didn't always have to turn up the distortion control to make your guitar sound good and to make it sound big. And we've just looked at a list of 11 amazing distortion pedals. I bet not one of those was used on this record, because on a lot of the tracks he's just playing either a Telecaster or a Les Paul Jr. style guitar pretty much clean. And songwriting and lyrics and storytelling comes to the fore on this album. It has, is it 12 songs? Yeah, 12 tracks. And every track is a unique little story in itself. I love the way that he writes about, I think, experiences that have happened in his life. It's kind of an American love story. It's often about relationships that he's tried to have and that have failed. He does that kind of Springsteen or Paul Simon thing of naming people in songs. So he talks about Bobby Jean, and he talks about Sally, and he talks about Jane, and he talks about lots of different women. And it's something that I've never been able to do as a lyricist. It just feels forced. It doesn't feel right. But with him, it feels like he's telling you this story, and it's bittersweet, but it's feel good at the same time. And it's very anthemic. Everybody listening to this will know the single, The 59 Sound, which is probably the Gaslight Anthem's most iconic track. But there's others on there which are absolutely amazing. I love every track on this record. And as we've discussed with our previous albums of the week, this is one that I listen to from start to finish, no problem. Out of the 12 tracks, I absolutely love at least 11 of them. There's one on there which is maybe a little bit weaker. I shan't name it, but listen to the whole album through, and it's a cohesive piece. It's like 35 minutes of just a musical journey. And actually, I used this record always as my NAMM record. Every time I go to the NAMM show every year, apart from last year and apart from this year, because it didn't happen, I take this record with me and I listen to it and I walk around Orange County, and it's the perfect record to discover America with. In a way, it's such an American kind of way of looking at the world, and it tells stories about American cars and American people. And I just always land in America in January every year, and I walk around Anaheim or somewhere in Orange County, or I walk along the beach at Huntington Beach listening to this record, and it gives me so many amazing memories, so many amazing thoughts. It's just a feel-good album for me. I'm not going to say perfect, because there is no perfect record, but it's just, I think for that band at that time, everything came together. Their songwriting was on point. The production by Ted Hutt is on point. The lyrics are on point. Brian Fallon is an amazing storyteller. The vocals are out of this world. He's a great goosebumps-inducing singer, and it just created a thing that will live with me forever as an amazing record. So it's the 59 Sound by the Gaslight Anthem. I love it. That was kind of rambling because I hadn't planned what I was really going to say, but I love this record.
It came from the heart instead of a script.
It did. And that's the most
usually do here.
Important thing. Yeah. They were an amazing live band as well back in the day, back when they released that record. I think they've got 5 albums in total, and I think I've got 2 more from them that could appear on this segment in the show. So a very, very important band for me, a very, very cool band. And I guess another thing is, it's not Guitar Hero-y in any way. Most of this record is based around songs that are 4 or 5 chords. That's about it. There's no big solos or anything like that. There is nothing Eddie Van Halen-esque on this record whatsoever. There's a few lead guitar breaks and stuff like that, but it's all based around melody and adding to the song and telling the story. So an amazing record. Listen to it if you haven't already, please.
Yeah. I'm familiar with this album, and I'm familiar with the band. My first introduction to Gaslight Anthem was handwritten. An old school buddy of mine was a big fan of the band, and he was always talking about the Gaslight Anthem, and he recommended that I would start with handwritten. And what happened that happens many times with a lot of bands, like the first record you hear from a band, and if you really like them, that becomes like a benchmark you compare all the other albums to. And that's why I haven't dived into the 59 sound as much yet, at least. But it's been a while since I've listened to anything Gaslight Anthem, so I'm probably need to go back and listen to this one. I remember listening through this album a few times as well and liking it. But you're giving me a great sales pitch again, so...
thank you. I should get commission on this. But yeah, Handwritten is a much more... That's one of the later records, and it's a much more kind of rock radio, glossy, produced record with, in my opinion, inferior songs to the 59 sound. Their first three albums for me are Where It's At, and the 59 sound is the second full-length album. Handwritten has some great songs on it and some great radio hits, but overall for me it's a lot less fun than the 59 sound. But I totally agree that when you hear one record from a band, that's a benchmark on which you judge everything else. It just happens like that, you know?
Yeah.
I was surprised when I listened to the Gaslight Anthem's other records. So when the 59 sound came out, I went and got their first one, Sink or Swim, and that's a lot punkier, a lot more DIY. And it's amazing, by the way. It's another of the ones that I would feature on this section, but totally different. Took me a while to get into it as well, but there's just something about that band. And I think Brian Fallon's voice and lyrics and the way he sings is a great thing for me. I don't know, there's so much emotion in that voice, and I feel like he's really lived a lot of the stories that he tells. So really special for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Quickly going back to the thing where you got like the first album you hear from a band. I think I mentioned this in one of the episodes back in the day, where my first introduction to proper introduction to Foo Fighters was listening to their best of album, and that's been like the worst thing. The worst way to be introduced to the band, because like going to the actual albums was always disappointing because they're not the albums are not as strong as their biggest hits.
Yeah, exactly. Those album tracks on the albums. Yeah. I have the same thing with Queen. I heard their greatest hits first, and then you go back to the records, especially some of the earlier records with more proggy stuff on it, and you're like, is this the same band? But yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much. But yeah, with Gaslight Anthem, there's, it's very American and Springsteen-y, and I like that. Especially I think with the 59 sound, I remember from the production, it's like, it sounds old, modern, old type of thing, where like a lot of the reverbs and things they do is like going for that kind of Springsteen sound without like making it sound like an old record though. So there's a lot of low end and stuff happening as you have on a more modern production. But yeah, they really leaned into it, and I think that's good. If you have a singer like that and songwriter like that, do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's totally what they were going for as well. I mean, Brian Fallon was a huge Springsteen fan. They're from the same place. They're both from New Jersey. And the Gaslight Anthem actually got their big break through Bruce Springsteen in a way, because after this record came out, it found its way to Bruce Springsteen, because all the album reviews were saying, oh, this is the young pretender to Bruce Springsteen's crown. He heard the record and he ended up coming and playing on stage with them at a few festivals, playing the 59 sound and duetting with them. And after that, sales of the album rocketed and they became a much bigger band in terms of chart placings and stuff. So
interesting.
It worked out for them.
Yeah. What was the reason for them breaking up?
They went on a hiatus a few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I think it must have been. And Brian Fallon continued doing solo stuff and working with the Horrible Crows, which is his other band. And then I think they got back together for a bit and maybe did a tour, but they've gone on another indefinite hiatus. So it's like they haven't split, but you can't imagine them coming back together again or whatever. Yeah. I feel like it was a band that drifted apart. You know, I feel like a lot of punk bands are a product of their time. You know, they're a band, they're a band of brothers together, them against the world. They come together and at some point that flame flickers out, you know? at some point, if you're punk and you become successful like them, does that stop you being punk? I don't know. It's a tricky one, and I'm sure that was one reason for them. And I think also that Brian Fallon moving more into the folk acoustic-y direction also influenced the way the band sounded and possibly made the other guys less interested in carry on doing that. I don't know. That's pure guesswork, but a possibility in my head.
Yeah. But I want to dive into this album. I'll probably listen to it later today. Especially like...
Stick it on in the car if you have the chance, if you're driving somewhere. Not if it's a stressful situation where you're having to drive somewhere very fast for a very specific reason. But if you're going on a road trip or something, stick it on.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to do that. Definitely. But I think I might give it a listen today as well, just because I can. Because I want to remind myself like what the album sounded like. It's been several years since I've listened to it, so I've kind of forgotten already.
Yeah, I think try approaching it also from a songwriting perspective. Well, don't think of it as a songwriting exercise, but just let the words and let the songs take you on a journey. That album takes me on a journey every single time, and it's one of those albums where I associate, places like Orange County in California and smells, and even the way the wind rustles through trees and stuff. And the way the waves hit the beach at Huntington Beach, it's a bit weird, but albums bring back memories, that with your album, every piece of music is a diary to your life in a way. You remember where you were when you first heard it, when you wrote it, if it was your song. You remember the experiences that you've had when you listened to it. And I've listened to this album so many times in certain situations that it can conjure up those memories. Even now, sitting at home during the pandemic, I can put that album on and be transported to somewhere in America having a much nicer time.
Yeah, I will report to you whether I'll be transported somewhere or not with that one. We shall see. But yeah, thank you. I still have no idea what I'm going to pick for the next week's show. If there will be one, that's always a question. But we actually do have a backup. But
yeah, that's good. It feels good to have that in hand. But this was actually really hard to come up with. Like I said, I came up with the idea last night. Well, I realized I would have to do this. And I was like, what record can I talk about on short notice? And there's a couple that I would want to do. And this one, I did it. But I also thought maybe I should leave it for later because it's really one of my very, very top albums. Am I showing it off too fast? I don't know. Whatever. I've done it now. It's all good.
Is it all downhill from here on?
Yeah, exactly. It's just crap records from now on.
That's the question. But yeah, really fun stuff to discuss, and I'm already thinking what I'm going to pick. I have a few ideas, but then I need to check my CD shelf because a lot of my music history is on that back wall over there. Albums that I have forgotten. I was heavily inspired by, so yeah, we shall see. You'll have to listen to the next one as well. That's all I'm going to say. But before we wrap up, there's something we want to encourage you to watch this weekend in the favorite segment of all of us, something like that. Weekend Watch.
Watch it, video.
It's not like you have anything else to do. As I mentioned, we are talking about Kiko, Loureiro. I hope I'm not butchering his name too much. But yeah, he's been vlogging from the Megadeth tour. And it's really interesting to follow that kind of production. They're touring US. They've been doing that for a while. And he's been posting a lot of clips from there, vlogs weekly, even more often than weekly, I think. And yeah, they're interesting to watch, what kind of production they have. The amount of gear they have with them which is kind of crazy, and all the rehearsals they had, they have practiced how they walk on the stage during the different songs and stuff like that. It's all pretty choreographed. And yeah, it's also really cool to see like a true professional. Like imagine jumping into Megadeth that has had several like absolutely like legendary guitar players in their ranks. And then you have to play that stuff. And based on everything I've heard, he does that really, really well. And he's also like a very chill guy, really seems to give like high praises to the crew they have there. And yeah, they have, so I don't know, it seems like they have like 5 tour buses or something they move with. And like what it's like to take care of your body, for example. Like I think Kiko does run, like he goes for a run like every day and for like a fairly long runs, and like how strict of a diet you need to have on the tour as well to like just maximize the like, or let's put it the other way, minimize the risk of getting ill during the tour, which can absolutely happen. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff to follow here. And also for gear nerds, this one we are linking to, he shows of all of the guitars he's using on the tour. Amps wise, there's not much to watch because he's using the Quad Cortex, something that they are experimenting on this tour. So far, they seem to be happy. I'm seeing a lot of people using the Quad Cortex now. It seems to be the new thing on the modular market. Not Kemper, not Helix or FX anymore. It's the Quad Cortex. It's the hot new thing, and he's using that. Not sure what Dave is using for his guitar sound, but he is using Quad Cortex. And yeah, bunch of Ibanez guitars because he is an Ibanez artist. And yeah, this is an interesting video, but then I highly recommend check some of his other videos as well, like the tour rehearsals and stuff like that. Kind of, I think he takes, like by accident, he kind of takes out a lot of the glamour touring might have, because most of it's like waiting, getting warmed up, getting a lunch with your bandmates and the crew and preparing, and then there's the hour and a half or whatever your show lasts. That's the glamorous part, but everything else is just waiting and trying to take care of yourself and each other there. Humanizes the whole touring part, I would say, and kind of makes me appreciate the people who are doing that even more.
Yeah, it's so different, isn't it, to how it used to be in the heydays of the 70s when you had these legendary bands like Led Zeppelin, with all these insane stories about what they used to get up to on tour. Would never happen today, would it? Because we have YouTube and we have videos like this, and we know what Megadeth is eating for lunch every day. And back in the day, you just didn't know it. So yeah, in one sense, they're demystifying the whole thing, but they're also, bands, they have to connect on much more of a personal level with fans than they used to. So I love this kind of video. It's like a Premier Guitar rig rundown, but just done by them. It's really, really well done. And he's a really charming, charismatic guy. I must admit, I'd never heard of him before you sent me this video link, but good. Yeah.
Like before he joined Megadeth, I might have seen him in some videos. He's like, I think he's from Brazil. Please forgive me if I get it wrong. Like Southern America, definitely. And yeah, he joined the band 5 years ago or so, which is quite a long time already. And yeah, nice guy. Really well produced videos. I'm guessing he has someone like following him with a camera and like maybe even like planning the next video, because like they're pretty focused. Like there isn't too much like empty space in this. Like he's not going to waste your time. Let's put it that way. And I like that a lot. So somebody else is probably doing the editing. I don't see Kiko doing the video edits on the tour bus, or maybe he does. Who knows?
I reckon he can possibly afford to pay someone to edit the videos, but who knows? Maybe he spends, some of those road hours doing it himself.
Yeah.
He is indeed Brazilian, by the way, I just checked. And he is married to a lady from Finland.
Oh, really?
Exciting
I like
time.
him even more now. For whatever reason. I'm not sure what I mean by that. But yeah. I need to Google search who he's married to. Maybe I know her.
Yeah, but he does have a wonderful collection of Ibanez Super Strats, doesn't he? Wow.
Yeah, and he has a signature Strat. And he actually, I think he teases in this video, he teases the budget-friendly version of that signature guitar as well, which is based on the S series of Ibanez guitars, it seems. So, like, super, super comfortable guitars.
Yeah.
I've had one in the past.
What do you think it's like coming into Dave Mustaine's band and having to play guitar in the same band as him? I mean, obviously, Kiko knew what he was getting himself into, but it must be a high-pressure situation.
Yeah, must be, but then again, he seems to like one of those people who probably he probably felt fairly accomplished already, and like he had the work ethic and everything, that he knew that, hey, I can pull this off. And like he really seems to nail the solos and everything, and he knows that everyone is watching, and my guess would be that he's almost like enjoying that. And he seems to be like very humble as well. Oh, that's a fancy looking guitar. LA custom. Whoa. It's cool. But yeah, like all I can tell from his videos, like a nice guy, very level-headed, doesn't seem to have like a huge ego or anything like that, and seems to be fun to hang around with as well. So yeah, fun video to watch, and I bet a lot of you people will be checking out more of his videos as well, because they're interesting. I don't think or like at least I haven't seen this kind of insight into like Megadeth or Metallica's or anyone else's like tour preparation. This feels way more genuine than like an official Megadeth tour vlog type of thing.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
through the eyes of one of the band members and not the lead member. So
Yeah,
that's interesting.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Links to this thing in the show notes as well. And let's jump this view over here. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and a bunch of stuff in the show notes where you can support what we do. The album that has just been released, my album that is, it's the Rich's channel, links is there, is there, something like that. Everything is there, let's put it that way. And hopefully next time we won't have the same technical issues before we get started, because it was really annoying. But we got to the end, and that's all good. Thank you, Rich, for joining me once again. And yeah, bye podcast.
Bye, podcast.